Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and I am grateful and honored and excited to have you here, so thank you so very much. In this week's episode, we're talking about card reading. Card reading for your Reiki business. But first, I do want to make sure, in case you haven't heard, that coming up this November is the world's first live online Reiki Business Summit, and you are invited. Join me and a few of my Reiki business friends as we talk about Reiki business topics, as we have opportunities to make connections with one another, to chat and discuss and network, make accountability partners, make Reiki business friends. Join us in November. You will not want to miss it. And definitely save your seat right now at special early bird pricing. You can learn more at standingstoneshealing.com/summit and save your seat right now. The link is down below. Thank you. Now you may be wondering, what does card reading have to do with Reiki? And the answer is nothing. Card reading has nothing to do with Reiki. But card reading is a great service for us to add to our Reiki business. As a matter of fact, I believe that if we are going to add any service to our Reiki business, that card reading is a really great service to add. You know, my card reading journey started back in late 2011, and I talk about my card reading journey on my YouTube channel and a few different videos, my journey with the cards workshop. And so I won't go into all of the details of my card reading journey because I don't want to waste our time talking about me. But I will say that I began as a card reader, reading for myself before I became a Reiki practitioner. And so when I became a Reiki practitioner, which was also for myself, I was not reading cards for others. It wasn't until I started offering Reiki for others that I then began to read cards for others as well. So how this happened for me on my journey was that when I started offering my distance Reiki sessions over the phone for friends and family and clients, I had the Reiki session, and then at the end of the Reiki session, I would pull a card for the client and offer them messages just for additional insight and encouragement on their journey. I would also sometimes pull a card as a proxy for my distance sessions. Now, for those of us who practice distance Reiki, are familiar with it, we know that many people will use a proxy for their distance Reiki sessions. And that proxy can be all kinds of things. A stuffed animal is how many people learn and then what many people use. Or a drawing, crystals laid out for the chakras, using your leg. Someone once told me they used their leg as the proxy. But the truth is we can use anything as a proxy for our distance Reiki sessions, or nothing at all. I now no longer use a proxy and haven't for years. But back when I started my sessions over the phone, I did start using a proxy at first. And sometimes a card was the proxy in that session. But because I had been reading cards for myself for a few years, it was just natural and normal for me to start pulling a card after each Reiki session in which I was having a discussion with the client. And so I wasn't offering card reading in my Reiki business except for as part of the Reiki session. Now, of course, card reading, like I said, has nothing to do with Reiki, and card reading is not part of the system of Reiki, but again, it felt natural and normal to me to just incorporate it because it was something I was already doing. I would always ask the client, and never did anyone say no, so they enjoyed it and appreciated it as well. I then decided to start offering card reading as its own standalone service. And when I did that, my Reiki business expanded. At one point, I was doing both card reading and Reiki at holistic events, fairs, expos, festivals. And I decided to run an experiment. And I offered 20 minutes of card reading for $20 and 20 minutes of Reiki for $20. And I said, I'm going to see what the result is, which one wins. I had an idea that card reading would be the winner, but I was shocked at the discrepancy between them. For every one person who wanted a Reiki session, 10 wanted a card reading. Well, actually, it was more than 10, but 10 to 1 suffices to give you an idea of the ratio. And so from that point on, at any fair, festival, expo, or similar event, I started only offering card readings. And to this day, at these kinds of events, I never offer Reiki and I only offer card readings. I talk about this in some of my videos on card reading on YouTube, and I definitely talk more about it in my Unlock Your Card Magic program. But I believe one of the reasons for the popularity of card reading is that it is very accessible and it's much more concrete than something like Reiki. So, as Reiki business owners, we spend time explaining what Reiki is. We spend time trying to help people understand what Reiki is and even how it all works. But with card reading, most people know what a card reading is. Many more people are familiar with it than with Reiki. And so there isn't as much explaining that goes into card reading as there is with Reiki. People can see the cards, people can even feel the cards, and it's just therefore much more accessible, much more concrete, and much more understandable. And so I believe that card reading is something that is easier for people to understand and to even get into as a client than Reiki. Now, I don't mean to diminish Reiki at all. Of course not. I offer the Build Your Reiki Business program. This is the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. And so Reiki is, of course, no less powerful and or important. It is, of course, a practice that I firmly believe in. But card reading, I have found, is a great service to add to our Reiki business. At least it really has been for me. And I will say, at this point on my Reiki business journey, I will say, yes, indeed, I'm positive it's true that I have done more card readings than I have Reiki sessions. Yes, throughout all of the years, because especially I now only do card readings at these kinds of vendor holistic events, and because I might do 60 readings in a weekend, it all means that I have done more card readings in my Reiki business than I have Reiki sessions. But I do believe that Reiki practitioners make the best card readers. And I believe this because Reiki practitioners just generally, as a group, are interested in things like mindfulness and compassion and kindness and self-healing. Now, it's not to say that other groups of people are not interested in these things. Of course not. And it's not to say that people who are interested in card reading are not interested in these things. But as a member of both the Reiki community and the card reading community, I have to say, quite frankly, I like the Reiki community better. The Reiki community is more my kind of people. Now, I say that because in the card reading community, there is oftentimes just a lower vibe kind of feel going on. Now, I don't mean to disparage card readers. I don't mean to disparage the card reading community. Remember, I'm a member of both. But I will say in my experience that I have found card reading communities to just be lower vibe than Reiki communities. And I have found that Reiki practitioners, generally speaking, are a higher vibe than, generally speaking, card readers. In card reading, there's often a real desire of people seeking out a reading to be given the answers. You know, tell me my future, tell me my fortune, tell me what to do kind of approach to it. Things like, oh, how do I get back together with my ex? Or even, will I get back together with my ex? You know, questions that really focus on what will happen. Is this something that is going to happen? And I think that that mindset, that frame of mind contributes to low viber card readings. And I think that many card readers also play into that vibe and that desire of people seeking a reading to simply be given the answers, particularly for what will happen. Now, I like to think of myself as a high vibe card reader. I personally teach high vibe card reading, and I believe that card reading at its best and highest use is really all about offering us insights and new perspectives, clarity on a situation, and not fortune telling, not telling us the future, which I don't believe we can do anyway. We all have agency and free will. But rather, I believe that card reading at its best and highest really focuses on helping us to get new perspectives and see things from points of view that we might not have seen them from before. This, I think, is the kind of vibe that Reiki practitioners can really bring to their readings, including oftentimes Reiki practitioners are intuitive. And even if we don't receive messages during a session, or we're not, seeing loved ones who have passed on show up in sessions, or receiving information to communicate to a client. Even so, I do believe that because Reiki as a system, as a practice, is really focused on mindfulness, being in the present moment, that Reiki practitioners, as they practice these practices, are really strengthening their own intuition. And so I believe that Reiki practitioners are very well suited to being high vibe card readers. Now, if you are a Reiki practitioner who offers card reading as part of your Reiki business, or you are considering offering card reading as part of your Reiki business, I have some tips of encouragement to pass on to you. First, I really want to encourage us in our readings to release judgment of the cards. And so to not place judgment upon the cards themselves. Now, I will say that this is something Reiki has really helped me with. In my own life, I can say for sure that Reiki has helped me with releasing judgment, decreasing judgment. And so Reiki has really helped me as a card reader, and to be a better card reader. I can say that 1000%. And one of the ways it has helped with this is releasing judgment, including of the cards. When we read cards, so often we pull a card and we are hoping for a particular kind of card. With that question of like, oh, does this person love me or not? Are we going to end up in a relationship together? Are they going to call me, or whatever other low vibe kind of question you might ask the cards. But we can pull a card and then feel like that's not the card that we wanted. So we might pull a card and be like, no card, that's not what I wanted you to say. And then what do? We shuffle the cards, put it right back in, shuffle them up, and we're like, all right, I need a new card. That was not the card I wanted. And so releasing judgment of those cards, I believe, is something very important to do on our card reading journey, and to know that the card that you receive is the card that you need in that moment, and that it indeed does have a message for you in terms of a perspective that you hadn't thought of, an aspect that you aren't looking at, some insight for you to reflect upon. The cards themselves are only a mirror. They only reflect back to us what we give them. And so if we pull the cards and we're like, no, that's not the card I wanted, that's the wrong card, it's not about the card. It's about our feelings about the card. And that resistance has meaning and is a point of reflection as well. So rather than dismissing the card, shuffling it right back in and saying, forget it, this is not what I wanted, to rather instead say, ooh, I don't like this, why not? And reflect upon that and explore that. My number 2 piece of encouragement in card readings for Reiki practitioners is to allow the person who you're giving the reading to create meaning out of the reading for themselves. And I think this is also so very important for us in our Reiki sessions, where rather than telling someone what something means, oh, I saw a butterfly at your crown chakra, that means you are about to go through a major life change or to transition into a new phase of life. Rather than giving meaning for a client, let's allow them to create meaning for themselves. And so in a Reiki session, it might be something like, oh, I saw a butterfly at your crown chakra. It was beautiful. Of course, as you know, you'll have clients who are like, ooh, what does it mean? What does it mean? Who are wanting us to create meaning for them. But what ultimately is most important is the meaning that the client creates for themselves. And it's the same thing in the card reading as well. Now, in my readings, I get messages that come up, intuitive things that come up. And so I do indeed pass these along. But so often it's more like, oh, I just now got the image of a butterfly. And then allowing that to just be there and for the client to fill that space with their own meaning. Ooh, I love butterflies. Oh, I just saw a butterfly today. Or, oh, butterflies, I have a butterfly tattoo. Whatever it might be for that particular client. I think it's important for us to allow them to assign meaning because that's what ultimately matters. What matters in our readings is the meaning that the client derives from it and not the meaning that we derive from it. It's the same thing in our Reiki sessions. What it means to the client means more than what it means to us. Because ultimately, our card readings, our Reiki sessions are about the client. They're not about us. I have so many more tips for card reading for Reiki practitioners, but the third one I want to leave you with is to practice Reiki. Practice Reiki, because practicing Reiki will indeed help you to be a better card reader. And practicing Reiki will indeed help you with being in the moment, the mindfulness aspect, the releasing of judgment, or even the judgment of the information that you're receiving during a card reading, to be able to be like, this is crazy. I can't say this. I know in my card readings over the years, I have said some things that have been like, I don't know why I'm seeing this, but here you go. Or I don't know why I'm getting this impression, but. And it always turns out to have some kind of meaning for the person that I'm telling. Of course, it has no meaning for me, why I'm seeing the image of a locked door, but it has meaning for the client. And so as we practice Reiki, it will help us to bring in more compassion, more kindness, more presence, all of those high vibe things that will really allow us to be a higher caliber, higher vibe card reader. And so if you are a Reiki practitioner considering bringing card reading into your Reiki business, yes, it is a great idea. I can say from personal experience that it really expanded my Reiki business, and that my Reiki practice has definitely made me a better card reader. Now, if you, like many Reiki practitioners, are a card reader or are interested in card reading, I invite you to join us for a free live card party on Zoom on June 2nd. I offer these card parties for my Unlock Your Card Magic program participants, and this time we are inviting anyone who would like to join us. So on June 2nd, join us for a big card party. All kinds of cards are welcome. All kinds of levels of readers are welcome. Yes, non-Reiki practitioners are welcome too, although a lot of Reiki practitioners will be there. StandingStonesHealing.com/card party. The link is down below. I hope that you will join us. And of course, I have plenty of resources about card reading, more card reading videos on the Standing Stones Healing YouTube channel. And of course, you are welcome to join my Unlock Your Card Magic self-paced program for Reiki practitioners who want to be awesome card readers too. Learn more and start right now at standingstoneshealing.com/magic. Are you a card reader? Do you read cards as well? Tell us about it in the Reiki Business Collective at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz. Sending so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.